Hello everybody, my name is Ben and welcome to my third CMF draft. This is another Undertale one, just because I love Undertale and I love translating it in LEGO, and I was ready to make this second series. It's taken me a lot longer than I expected because I actually had this series all planned out before I uploaded the first video in summer last year. I have a lot of my minifigure series drawn in an old notebook that I've just kind of been translating into digital art, but I didn't have digital art on the first one, so it was just my notebook. A lot of people have been wondering that. That's just what I drew in my notebook. That was before I had an art program on my computer, so that's why those are hand-drawn, in case you were wondering. And before I get into the video, I do want to remind you that I have an Undertale I have an Undertale LEGO Ideas project, Sand at Papyrus' house, up on LEGO Ideas. I'm so happy to say that we're up to 100 supporters and growing, and I'm super excited about that. I hope that you will support it, and maybe Undertale could be a real LEGO theme. So, the numbering on this series is a little weird. It's 18 minifigures, which is because I was going to include 22 again, with 16 Undertale figures and 6 Deltarune figures. But I figured since the second Harry Potter series did not have any Fantastic Beasts minifigures, I was actually planning on not doing any Deltarune figures, except for a lot of people wanted me to make one, but I couldn't. There's never been a 17 minifigure series before, so instead I settled for 18. So that's why there's a bit of a weird numbering, but it's just so I could squeeze in one Deltarune character and throw in another Undertale character I wanted to add. But yeah, I'm just gonna get started with it. Our first figure is one of the variants. There are a lot of variants for characters in this series. From the first series. If you want to see the first series, go ahead and watch that one, because there are going to be some different versions of the characters in this. But our first figure is Frisk, and this is kind of a combination of a bunch of ideas. This is Waterfall Frisk, combining a lot of different aspects of Waterfall. So they're wearing the tutu and the ballet slippers, as well as they have the red circle around their eye from when Sans pranks you and makes you look through the telescope. As an accessory, they include a little new piece of Temmie, which was inspired by the dog piece. A lot of people wanted her in the series, Temmie, so I decided to include her with Waterfall Frisk. Waterfall Frisk also has a little heart to represent the Undertale heart, because I meant to do that in the first series and didn't. I gave them the mercy button instead. But anyways, the next figure is, of course, another variant of Sans, being the most popular character from the series. I'm not saying he's everyone's favorite, and I know that people don't like that I said that once, but being the most popular character from the series, it would definitely make sense for him to be in it again, and Frisk would of course be in it again, just because they're the main character. But I definitely had to include Sans again, but since he doesn't wear any other clothes, I decided to include Battle Sans in his black and white, which I think actually turned out looking really cool, and is what actually inspired the design on the Sans for my LEGO Ideas project. He uses the same new hoodie piece that I designed for Undertale Series 1, and has a very similar face, except for instead it has the glowing blue eye. And he has mid-legs, of course, since he's taller than Frisk, but shorter than a lot of the other characters. And he has some glow-in-the-dark pieces, which LEGO hasn't included in a while, including a glow-in-the-dark heart, a glow-in-the-dark bone, and a glow-in-the-dark eye. I thought those would be some cool accessories for him, and that is Black and White Sans. My favorite Undertale character, who I felt definitely needed to be in the series again, was Papyrus in another one of his outfits, the cool dude outfit, because that's definitely one of his coolest outfits from the game, even though he has quite a few. I think I told Jude once I could make a whole minifigure series just of different Papyrus outfits. But yeah, he's drawn a little differently because this was the first minifigure that I actually drew last year. So that's why he looks a little different, but I didn't really want to change him. He has dual molded legs and uses the cat piece, which is turned around backwards. He has a slightly different expression than the other Papyrus. It's more of like a going ooh expression. And he also has dual molded arms with the basketball printed on them and an accessory of a basketball. And I really like how his shirt turned out that says cool dude there. And yeah, that's cool dude Papyrus. The next figure is another variant. There's a lot of variants of this series, and that is Undyne the Undying. I did not include Undyne in her battle armor in the first series, so I was going to include that in this series, but I thought that it would be cooler if I saved that for a different project I'm working on, believe it or not. And I wanted to include the Undying because I kind of used a couple of the Genocide Run characters in this one to kind of mix it up, since the last series had a lot more pacifist characters. But yes, she has the same headpiece from the last one that works kind of like a Darth Maul or Black Panther headpiece. It just goes on top of her head and attaches the little fins. But instead of using the flame piece that I used for some reason in the first one, I used this ponytail piece, which works perfectly for her. I'm not sure why I used the fire piece in the original series, but I did. She has a light blue translucent spear as an accessory, which I think is the same accessory as her other version, but whatever. She also has a new armor piece with the, it would be dual molded so it could have that big red heart, as well as a 3D skirt piece to represent some of her armor. I think she looks really, really cool. The next figure is definitely one of my favorites, and that is Asgore in his Hawaiian shirt from the end of the Pacifist Run. I really wanted to include this figure. I just thought it would look really cool, and so yeah, he has of course the same crown and hair piece and everything piece, whatever you want to call that, just headpiece in general, that he uses in the original series. He just has a more happy facial expression, and I'm just really proud of how the flowers on the shirt turned out. I think it's really cool. And he has the printing that a lot of figures in the series have of the 3 toes. His accessories are some scissors and the new flower pieces that I introduced with the Bride of Frankenstein in my Monster Minifigure Series 2, actually. The 6th figure is Mettaton Neo, who is one I definitely wanted to include. I had some trouble deciding between him and the box version of Mettaton, normal Mettaton, but eventually I decided Mettaton Neo looks a lot cooler. So he uses the Cyborg Justice League arm with the stud shooter attached to it, as well as the hair from that bad guy from Pirates of the Caribbean. You know the one I'm talking about. I can't remember his name though. He also has a new wing piece that works very similar to the wings they make for Hawkman and other characters like that. I think they use it for Batman a couple times, as well as some dual molded legs and some cool printing on the arms and everything. And that is Mettaton Neo. The next figure is one that actually nearly didn't make the cut, and that was Napstablook. I felt really bad that I didn't include him in Series 1, and that I nearly didn't include him in Series 2, just because he couldn't really work as a minifigure. I considered using the bodies I made for the ghosts in my Pac-Man series, but I thought that wouldn't work. I decided instead on making this brick build version that is inspired heavily by my real-life custom version, he just has, you can kind of see how it's built, a couple of bricks and a dome piece and a top hat, and then just 2 of those bricks are printed, and his accessory is a little disc of his spook tunes. Number 8, and I'm kind of started going into some less popular characters here, or I guess not less popular, but just less important to the story, starting with Catty. She has the orange hat and gun as her accessory since she sells them in her shop. She has a brand new piece for her hair and cat ears, as well as using the Craven the Hunter fur piece to represent the fur on her overalls. I'm actually really proud of how this figure came out. I just think with her expression and everything, I just think a lot of the printing and the colors turned out really nice. Of course with Catty would be Bratty as well, who uses a brand new headpiece. I was going to try to implement the Chima headpiece for the crocodiles, but that didn't really work out. She also uses the new troll skirt piece, so that's pretty cool, and it makes her quite a bit taller as well, to represent her sort of really long shirt or dress, or I don't know what it is. Her accessory is of Mettaton's key to his house in hot pink, of course. The next figure is starting. I wanted to include all the dog royal guards in here, so I did that, starting with Dogamy. It was a very simple figure. He has a new headpiece as well, and he uses the wild style hood, as well as a new axe accessory that uses the spear and the axe head combined. And of course, his wife Dogaressa is the next figure who looks exactly the same. They're both really simple, but they look really cool when they're right by each other like that, just with some sort of different printing. Another one of my favorites of the series is definitely Doggo. I think he just turned out really perfect. He uses the Chima wolf headpiece, which has a new sort of looking around expression. I think that turned out really cool. As well as some of the newer Ninjago knives. I felt like those best represented his knives, except for the blades are painted silver. He also has the Rocket Raccoon tail poking out under his legs there. I just think this figure looks super cool. The colors and everything, I just really enjoy. Rounding up the last 2 dogs are Greater Dog, who also looks pretty awesome and hilarious. I wanted to kind of give him that sort of really crazy looking look that he has in the game. And to do that, I gave him a new body piece, which is very similar to the body used for Axel, and in fact uses the arms from Axel from Nexo Knight, because those are like actually perfect for him. So yeah, and then that attaches to a minifigure head with the Black Panther ears. Excuse me. And he also has that same Trolls skirt piece to be some of his armor. His accessory is, of course, the spear with the dog face on it, which kind of turned out very adorable. To round up the dogs, the very last dog is Lesser Dog, of course. If I say dog one more time, I'm gonna be angry. But he uses the Chima wolf headpiece as well, which doesn't work for him as well because it makes him look a little bit angry. But I think that it turned out a little bit cute. So he has some very simple printing, and his accessories are of the shield, which has the Delta rune on it, as well as a Lord of the Rings sword. He also has an accessory of a 1x1 cylinder piece to represent his head growing, so I showed that there with also the alternate expression, which I think really is super cute. Next up is Mad Mew Mew, who I felt like kind of had to be included after how prominent they were in the Nintendo Switch edition of the game. But yeah, I think they look really cool with the brand new hairpiece to be that sort of with the cat ears and the little bells and everything, as well as a new accessory on a pole that kind of gives it that little cat head and connects to a little friend's bow piece. They also use a little the Minnie Mouse skirt, as well as a cat tail piece, which is a lot of different pieces, but I think they really work all together to give her that cool cat look. I really like how the expression turned out. I really based her more off of the art from the commercial for the game on Nintendo Switch than it actually on the Switch, than her pixel art, but I think it looks really, really cool. Next up is Nice Cream Guy. He's really popular among the Undertale fan base, so I felt like I really wanted to include him. He uses the bunny piece in a light blue coloring with pink ears and kind of has just some printing on it to represent his hair with a minifigure face underneath with his very happy expression. I felt like that looked a lot better than a new piece, or I just thought that would look pretty cool, and I think it works out really good. He also has some dual molded legs and arms, as well as a brand new popsicle piece that has a brown printed handle and some printed lines on it to make it look more realistic than the usual popsicle pieces. The very last figure from Undertale is one that I seriously debated putting in the series, and that would be Gaster. A lot of people like him. He's very popular among the fans, but I wasn't sure about it because Toby Fox kind of doesn't put him in anything, like, whatsoever. And most of his story is kind of created by fans. But yeah, I made him anyways because a lot of people wanted him and a lot of people like him, even though I don't think it will be very likely for him to be in the series. He was very inspired by my minifigure to just use that black, that new dress piece in all black, as well as just all black pieces except for the little white printing on the torso. And I think the head turned out really cool looking as well. His accessory is of a Gaster Blaster, and before you say in the comments, Ben, why didn't you give the Gaster Blaster to Sans? I felt like Sans is a character that is so popular that he would sell without a Gaster Blaster. But since Gaster is probably not, even though he's popular among the fans, to someone just buying the series, he would not be very worth it, especially just being some black pieces with a white head. So I included the Gaster Blaster with him instead, because his name is Gaster and everything. And it can attach to one of the Power Burst pieces to fire off one of those. The last figure, which is a figure from Deltarune, the one figure from Deltarune, is Rouxls Kaard. I think that's how you pronounce it. Not actually completely sure, but I think he looks super cool. He uses that brand new Luke Skywalker hairpiece, as well as the Jafar shoulder pads, and he's in all dark blue with just the white lines, which I think looks really cool for him. His accessory is his jar of worms that appears in the background of his shop, which is just a clear minifigure head with some worms printed on it, and a stamp piece turned upside down and placed into it. But that is my Undertale Minifigure Series 2. Thank you for watching. I had a blast making these. I always love creating and designing Undertale figures. So yeah, be sure to support. I don't usually ask people to do stuff for the channel, but please do support the LEGO Ideas project. I've worked really hard on it, and that we could actually get like stuff like this to actually happen in real life, which I think would be something that everyone would really benefit from. So yeah, please support those down below. Click that thing. Thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye.